Good morning, everybody. Matrix here, January 25th, and here is my trade recap of the day. As you can see, I have two tickers up right now, is Intel and StarBucks. I basically only took two trades today. I'm going to bring in my tickets right here. All right, I traded 7 tickets, and here's my P&L for the day, just 2 trades. After what happened yesterday, I decided today just to keep it simple and reduce my trades as much as possible. Trade what I am comfortable with, and just leave it at that, and just let nature take its course, right? Keeping it simple. That's a major point that a lot of traders forget what trading is about. At the end of the day, we're just in here for the paycheck, and it's not about trying to get rich overnight. So as long as you keep a small consistency on a daily basis, everything would work itself out in the long run. Anyways, let's get into it. Okay, so Intel and StarBucks, let's get right into it. Let me move my my P&L out of the way here. Okay, so drag this open, Intel. What I was looking on Intel was basically they had a negative earnings reaction last night, and it caused this massive dump. Now, with negative earnings reactions, most of the time it's pretty simple. Most of the time, I would say 8 or 9 out of 10, the bias is a short bias for me, and the idea is always looking for a pop into resistance and then a short, right? So Intel worked out great. As you can see here on the daily chart, let me delete this line here. On the daily chart, I mean, you can see how it dumped hard, right? So it dumped a lot. There's a massive gap that needs to be filled. So I don't expect Intel to just fall and die. Intel itself is a pretty big company. Also, I am looking on the daily chart here this morning. We have pretty key resistance at the 47 mark right here, as well as the 47.50. Okay, so this morning in my plan of attack in my watch list that I posted late, I talked about these two areas for potential reversal. The 47.50 area is the 50 SMA on the daily chart as well. So I definitely marked those out, as well as the 47 key psychological whole number. So coming into the pre-market, as you can see, excuse me, we had a gap up and then a steady sell-off. I mean, these little ticks and prints here doesn't really show you what's going on in the market, not until right about this area around 7:30. As you can see, Intel coming back up. So leading up to 8:30, this is where we get the topping action here at the 47.70s mark, right? And I also marked off right here key psychological whole number of 47, as well as the pre-market highs right here at around 47.25. Let's move the clock out of the way here. Yeah, 47.20, 25-ish. Okay, so scrolling forward real quick, we do see that Intel on the pre-market, it finally broke out of this prior resistance, and it topped out right here at the pre-market highs, right? So at the open, zoom in a little bit more. At the open on the first candle, it basically opened right here. It pops right into the 47, and I was watching the tape, and as I was watching the tape, I saw it kind of turn. It was going green real quick, and then it had a pause, and then all the red prints started coming, and I was thinking, okay, I'll risk the pre-market highs 47.20s, and I'll start in, and I got in right here at 46.91. So very acceptable risk for me, about 30 cents. If not 30 cents, at that point in time, I was actually thinking about 47.11 area. So a little bit over 47, the key psychological whole number, I was seeing it reject the 47. And right here as well, we see the rejection of 47. So I basically just took it out the gates, 200 shares, as you can see right here. As it came down, into the VWAP here, 941.02. I basically paid myself right away. I took 3/4 off. I saw I had a 30-cent gain, right? So I took 3/4 off it, 30-cent gain, and it was reaching the VWAP. So from here, it could potentially bounce because a lot of times we do see when the stocks sell off in the morning at the first candle, it's basically profit taking from this area from these buyers, right? And I don't know if they'll start coming back in and buy. I'm still not sure if the bias overall was long or short. As you can see, there was like a uptrend line coming in, right? At the end of the day, you have to remember this is Intel. It's one of the bigger companies out there in the market. So I paid myself here right at the VWAP and then let the next 50 shares work. As the 50 shares came down, hold on, let me check the time here. Yeah, as the next 50 shares came down, it came down right over here, and I paid myself at the bottom of this massive wash, basically at 46.15. This candle was huge, right? So I just can't help myself. I could have waited until it hit the 46, but this candle was too big to give up. So I paid myself another half. That would leave me 50 shares of, that would leave me 25 shares of Intel. And now basically, as you can see, there is no more covers on Intel. Let me bring my P&L back in. I still have 25 shares going on Intel right now, and it's still riding. So what this is basically, I'm pretty satisfied with this move, capturing it from here all the way down here, and I was just gonna let it run. It's still a bad earnings reaction at the end of the day. So I am hoping, and yes, I am using the word hope, that later on in the day that Intel will just fade all the way back down, and I'll come check back on it at the end of the day. With this 25 shares, I really don't care. I set my stop right now at my entry price right here at 46.91. So if it does stop me out, so be it. I've already took my money, realized $60 from 150 shares, right? So that's okay. If it keeps coming down, then bonus, right? Big bonus. So that's my trade on Intel. Zooming back up, scrolling back a little bit, let's take a look at Intel. I mean, let's do some hindsight trading here, right? I did see the potential of a double bottom here, okay? And this could have been a long play thesis as it reclaimed 46 and held, but it's very dangerous for newer and beginning traders. I did mark this trend line off for newer and beginning traders to try to switch bias and go long and short, because this is when we get into over trading. If we're wrong and we get into trouble, right? If I started off the stock with a short bias on it because of the catalyst and everything, I'm just going to stick with it from now on and just play it. And even though if it gives me an opportunity long, yes, I could have longed it, and yes, it would have been a pretty nice trade, right? But the lesson here is to keep it simple. Don't get greedy. Also, don't get yourself into a situation where you are not really that sure, right? Yes, it could have ran up and made some money, but it could have also broke down again and kept coming down, right? That's how I think about it. Now, scrolling back here, as we're still talking about this double bottom area, if you take a look at this area, the double bottom, it's basically the the after hours lows right here. So it would make sense that it bounced here, right? Anyways, I didn't take that trade. It is what it is. I guess this would be my final target at the end of the day. I am quote unquote hoping for it to come right back down, and from here, I guess if it does come back down, then I'll close my position here and take that bonus, right? So that's Intel. Next up, we have StarBucks. StarBucks was a weaker trade. I am on the weaker side when I do play the longs. StarBucks had a positive earnings reaction after hours today, and then it basically gapped up at the pre-market open. So what happens with positive earnings reactions if the gap wasn't huge? Let me bring this up. Let's go to the daily chart first. If the gap wasn't too big, I usually like to go on a long bias, right? And I'm looking at this daily chart right here. Yes, the closing price was here at 64.74, and we did gap up huge. However, we did gap up over a major resistance area, which is this area right here, the 66.72 area. Okay, so now this area becomes support, in my opinion. So at the end of the day, I don't consider the gap up is starting from here. I consider the gap up starting from here. All right, so there's this is the tiny gap that I was looking at. Okay, so positive earnings reaction gap up at the open. I was looking for a gap to fill. Okay, so pre-market, we have this little run up here, which are people buying in the late buyers into the positive earnings reaction. And out the gates, we have a sell-off. So let's zoom in real quick. Out the gates, right here, 9:30, we have a massive seller's candle and a sell-off. It's these guys taking a profits, right? And I was watching it come right back up and down. And as it sold off, you'll see this blue line here. This is the first print of the pre-market opening price. I always mark this off. It's also a key psychological area of 66. So if I were to put on the time frame here, see the 4 o'clock here on my chart, the opening price is at 67.30. What was I looking at though? 66. Oh, I was looking at yesterday's closing price, after hours closing price. Okay, so $66. All right, so I marked it off wrong, I guess. So I got lucky here, right? But anyways, the point is, I marked this line off. It had an after hours resistance area, right? All this stuff right here, right? Basically this whole area was after hours resistance, and we gapped over. So I was looking at to hold as support. As it was coming down, I saw heavy volume here, massive bar, a heavy volume. And I was looking for it the sellers to exhaust itself and start covering and buying again. Okay, so this candle popped up right here, and what was the candle that I took it on? 9:37. Okay, so yeah, so this candle started coming up. It opened at 66.17, and from there I was thinking, okay, I could risk a little bit under this whole number of 66, which is a key psychological number. I have that to help me. Okay. I have also a positive news catalyst or a positive earnings reaction catalyst. I also understand this is basically just the sell-off from the pre-market. Overall, people want to buy. Looking at this action, it tells me that people want to buy and they just want to get in cheap. So I was looking for a place to enter, and I got in right here. Now, you'll see that I use a very, very small share size of 50 shares. It was just basically a tester size because I'm not really good or confident at longing positions. However, buying this dip right here, I use a small size just in case I fail. And my stop was actually a little bit lower. My stop was a little bit under this 66 area. So I had quite a bit of risk going into this trade, hence the very small size. And I got in at 66.24. My first target, I was looking at if it can reclaim, my thinking was if it can reclaim this, the 66.50 area, then it would be a good long trade. So as it was coming up, it rejected. I held it. I held on. From here, I was already winning by like 10 cents, but it's not the 10 cents that I'm looking for. I was looking for it to get back up to the VWAP at least, right? So from here, I held on, and then it ripped. I took my first payout here. I took half off at 66.71 at 9:40. So this candle right here, 9:40, exactly right here at 66.71 as it reaches the VWAP and a massive green candle. So that's a nice almost 50-cent gain right there. And then I left the I left the other half. From here I had 25 shares, so I was just holding it. And once again, it ripped key psychological number of 67 right here. And I paid myself a little bit. Once more, I took another half off at 9:44. So that would be this candle. As you can see, the timestamp, that's where I paid myself. Also the 50 SMA, right? And from then on, I had a quarter size left. And with that, I was just letting it ride. I set a hard stop back to my entry price, and I was just watching it. But as I watched this candle come up and basically got rejected, okay, this is the pre-market highs. And I was thinking to myself, okay, Starbucks, I literally got it from 66 and I rode it all the way up to 67 70s. That's a $1.70 gain. So as I saw this candle get stuffed and the price action was getting pretty overextended, I only had 13 shares left. There really was no point. Like, how much more can I gain of this 13 shares on this overextended move? Could it rip to the $69 area or the $68 area? Sure, of course it could, but out of 13 bucks, ripping it to 68 doesn't make a lot of money, in my opinion. I mean, there's not a lot of money for it to rip to 68 on 13 shares, and I wasn't intent on adding at this overextended move here. And I saw this seller's candle hit the top of the pre-market highs, so I basically just took it right off at 67.50s at 9:51. So this candle, 9:51. 9:51.02. So I basically took it off right at the end of this green candle, and it opened. And yeah, that was it. That was a trade. I basically wrote this move all the way up, almost from the bottom to the top. I'm pretty happy with this trade. And looking at Starbucks right now, it's just chopping on the sideways channel right now. So this and this, it's just chopping around in and around the VWAP from 67 to 67.50. So right now there is no trade on it, and the volume really dried up, and that's it. I'm done for the day. Bring in my P&L once again. Still letting Intel work for me. Maybe it can get me a bonus. It got as low as what, 46.80s? No, 45.80s, and that was good. I had like $15 here, but it is what it is. I'm pretty happy about the day, right? $100 realized, so that's it for the day. I hope you guys enjoy this recap. If you like it, make sure you hit the thumbs up button, the like button. Okay, that would help me out a lot. If you have any questions about these two trades I took today, make sure you ask me in the comment section below. Also, check out my video link description, where I have all the links to the current chat room I'm in, my mentor, my trading buddies, what broker I'm using, discounts, etc., etc. This type of trades is what I learned to do from being in trick trades, right? My mentor, Pat Mitchell, basically changed my trading around. I mean, before I went into trick trades, there was no way I could have took these trades by myself. And I have him to thank for. So check him out. Come check us out at Trick Trades, and I'll see you guys all bright and early on Monday. Thank you.